All right, going live onto the Velocity channel. Excellent. It's gonna pop right up. Wait, am I muted? Can you guys hear me?
I hear you.
All right, good evening, everybody. See?
Everybody can see
the velocity. Oh, there we are. Good
Yeah.
thing. Excellent. Welcome out, everybody. Tonight is the first night of the Real Estate Investing Mastermind. And no, we are not sharing our presentation yet.
Oh, okay,
but
cool.
We will need to. Let's get this into presentation mode. And that way we can share with all of our folks here on the Velocity channel. Huge shout out to Mr. CJ Wallace for allowing us to go to his channel with all these great folks.
Yeah, this is a topic very near and dear to CJ's heart, being that he's a real estate investor, realtor, right? So,
absolutely. Now, I got to get to the sharing of the screen. So just bear with me 1 minute, folks. And let's see here.
That one, right? If you click on that one. Then you got the bottom right there.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, we got a couple more folks.
The green button
on the line. Welcome in, welcome in. Keith, Roger, Brian, and then we got somebody else. Can't see their name, but excellent. Hey, good to see you, Brian. All right, and I'm not sharing my screen.
2K, Keith, Roger, and we have Brian Todd, the Brian Todd.
Brian Todd, he is the man, the myth, the legend. He's an amazing real estate professional himself. That guy is amazing. I like working with him. But the question is, can you guys see my screen? And the question after that is, are you looking for a way to learn the right way to invest into real estate? Now, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And as we get the PowerPoint to work here, technology, when it works, is always amazing. So my name is Ray Fleming. This is my partner, Joseph Smith.
Hello.
These are just some of the properties that we've been able to do over the last few years since we've formulated a partnership. Some of these are wholesales, some of these are fix and flips, some of these are buy and hold rental properties. And of course, you see there, results are not necessarily typical, but like my buddy always says,
who wants to be typical?
Exactly. Who wants to be typical? Now, if you are finding us tonight, then you probably are wanting to journey down the road into real estate investing. And if it's been a passion of yours, it's been on the table for properties under your belt, you got a couple rental properties that you own, maybe you have a couple of businesses, people think that it all happened like that, and you're maybe an overnight success, or that you may have had it handed to you. So that's what people see. They only see the top of the iceberg, but in reality, what goes into this? It's the perseverance. It is literally pushing a huge boulder up the hill. And it's not easy to be when you do it alone. It comes along with failure. Sometimes failure, that's how we actually learn. But the biggest thing I had to learn was it didn't always have to be my own failure. If I surrounded myself with the folks that were like-minded and going in the same direction, the mastermind concept, the sharing of knowledge, the learning from other people's failures allowed me to curve time greatly in my quest to pursue real estate.
Did you know all of that, or did you have to learn that?
I didn't necessarily know that when I first got into this, because when I first got into this, I was in a bad state in my life. I had really hit rock bottom. And the only way was to go to do something better. When you really are at the bottom, you only have up. And so that's really where I was. I'd already made a lot of sacrifices. It was hard being broke. It was hard being in bad situations. And so I sacrificed a lot then, and you're going to sacrifice regardless for success or for hardships. You're going to sacrifice, but it's up to you really which direction you want to head, because both directions are hard, but you have the choice. It was followed by disappointment as well. I felt disappointed in myself. There's been times I strive to do the best that I can, but ultimately, we're all new at this whole thing called life. And as we get a little bit better, maybe we start a new business, we're going to have some setbacks. We're going to have some disappointments because it's the first time. And that was one thing that I thought I should be able to run before I could even walk. And that's why I had to have some businesses that didn't do so well. I had to get around folks, and each business gets better and better and better. But what we found and what we're going to talk about tonight is how to curb your learning curve and how to accelerate your growth by learning from the failures of others. But it does take discipline, hard work, and dedication. But if you're dedicated to your dreams, we're here to help you out with that. So why are you here? I want to talk about the 4 currencies, and each one of these are interchangeable and they all have value. So are you here because you want to make some more money? Are you here because maybe you want to have more time freedom to spend with your family, with your friends, pursuing the passions that you want to? Knowledge. Do you feel like you didn't learn what you were supposed to learn to set you up for success from the education you already had? So elementary school, high school, college, did you learn all the tools that you needed to succeed in the financial real estate world of life? And relationships. I always am looking for ways to develop new relationships because really it's the people that you surround yourself with are ultimately who you become.
Do you have to pick just one?
No, you don't. No. That's a beautiful thing is all of these are interchangeable, and you may want more money, more time, more knowledge, and relationships. And that's the beauty of what we have is this isn't just one thing that we're focusing on. This is not just real estate. This is self-development. This is life improvement. This is building a legacy for your family, becoming a better parent. This is really a better way of life. I
thought we were going to be talking about real estate today.
Well, it all goes back together though, because in order to be successful in life, you have to be able to not just have one area of mastery. You got to have many areas of mastery, or at least that you're pursuing that mastery. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, I want to invest into real estate, but I do not have the money, or I do not have the time. What about you just don't know how? You get that a lot?
Well, of course. That's why I partnered up with you. I don't know which side of the hammer you're supposed to use.
And I mean, a lot of folks that I speak to, they say, I don't have the resources or the network to plug into. That's where we kind of come into play. What we're working out and helping to facilitate here is more of a fraternity. This is a network. YouTube has already been an amazing resource for many folks to connect and join together on, but now it's taken to the next level. Now, since we've been working together for some time, let's figure out how to really take this to the next level and help you pursue your passions. So as we talk about real estate investing, there's many different aspects of a deal. And so if you want to look at maybe making more money and controlling your income, there's a couple of different things you got to think about before you can get to the end result where you get paid. So the components of the deal, if you look in the upper left here, there's the seller, there's the buyer, there's the money, there's the deal makers. And so as you put that together with your personal resources, whatever personal resources that you have, maybe you have time, but you just don't have the money. Maybe you have the knowledge on how to do this, but you don't have any buyers or sellers. Or maybe you have these relationships with buyers and sellers, but you don't have the time or the money. This is where building relationships really comes into place, because when I started out, I didn't have the money, but I had the time. And then I got the knowledge. And so I was able to work with other folks that had the money, but they didn't have the time. And then that's when the risk started to get reduced, because the more components you have to be able to put together in a deal, the lower the risk. There's a lot of different ways of acquiring properties. So you could acquire it through foreclosures, subject to multifamily, real estate owned properties, which we are going to start diving into deep every single week. And where does this take it off to? There's wholesaling, there's fix and flip, there's rehabbing, there's money lending. I'm going to dive into those a little bit more. Real estate.
On that previous slide, what I liked was how you're making it sound, you're breaking it down into such a way where it's something that I can control.
It's very controllable. It is. And we just had an interview with a lady the other day who, how old is she? She's in her late 60s, probably.
Yeah.
Late 60s, works full-time as a caregiver, 40 hours a week. If you go over to the Wise Guys and Ties YouTube channel, you can see that interview. It's the Business Credit Empowerment podcast. And so you can see how with her 40-hour week job, getting into real estate investing, she's still able to bring in a decent side revenue. And, of course, everybody's situation is different, but for her, the last deal brought her in $5,300, and that was in less than 4 months. And she's taking care of a teenage daughter and working 40 hours a week. So it's pretty phenomenal.
Very
but
inspiring.
She also has been on this path of knowledge for a very long time. I've been working with her for several years now.
You're a little bit off camera, just so you know.
Ah,
you might want to scoot a
I
little
could
closer.
scoot over a little bit.
Yeah.
Our camera person is fired. So traditional real estate, well, actually, let's just talk about real estate investing versus traditional investing. Now, I know that right now in the stock market, there's a lot of uneasiness and there's ups and downs, and that always happens because at any time something could take place in the economy that are out of your control. Something I always like to see about traditional investing is, Joseph, you deal a lot in finance and money.
Yes.
If you wanted to, let's say, what's a successful business right now? Amazon.
Yes.
Okay, let's say that you went to a big bank, one of the big 3 banks, and you tried to get a loan for $100,000 to invest into Amazon stock.
Right. They would not allow me to do that because it's against the law.
Interesting. But it is a business, and and ultimately you'd be investing into a business. It's interesting that they don't like to play the stock game. But what if you went to them with a piece of real estate that was dilapidated and in terrible shape, barely worth $100,000? Would they go into that deal with you?
Depends, on the appraisal, but they'd lend something. There'd be a loan to value, but they would lend something.
If it's worth, let's say it's worth $100,000, and you had a little money to put in the game.
Yeah, they'd easily. As long as I had some skin in the game, there would be a lender that would lend to me.
It's interesting how banks, who are the least, they take the littlest risk possible, will go into real estate with you every single day of the week. But they won't go into the stock market with you. Something to think about.
It's true.
So let's talk about different ways you can get into real estate investing, the risk factor versus the effort it actually takes. The very first that you see on their screen there is wholesaling. This is primarily where a lot of folks start because they think it's very easy.
I started there.
I did too. I mean, it's one of those things. If you're starting out, you have no money, then the best thing you could do is go find, let's just say this is a piece of property. If I find a piece of property, then I can get it under contract for a good deal. I can go to a more seasoned investor who maybe has the capital and the knowledge to do, say, a fix and flip or is looking for rental properties. And I could exchange this contract for a fee.
But there's evaluating the properties. There's the walking the door knocking, meeting with the people, walking the properties, drafting contracts, negotiating the contracts, getting them signed, running out and finding people.
It takes a lot of effort, but it doesn't require a lot of financial resources. Right. If I'm looking to wholesale a property, I'm wanting to get under contract for only $10, but it's going to take up a lot of my time. Until you start to build relationships, that network, then your time can be reduced. But you can't do that right out the gate. It takes time to build relationships. After you start to gain some knowledge, you can go a little bit more risky, and that's the fix and flip. Typically, you want these properties out within 3 to 6 months. You want it off of your hands. And so you're going to get into this property and put some more money into it to rehab it, to fix it up. And then you're going to want to put it on a market and sell it for a profit.
Right.
So the effort, because you're going to have other people's efforts that you're utilizing, contractors, handymen, title and escrow.
Well, that's the
realtors.
right way to do it. What about the person who thinks that they can move in and do it themselves?
Well, there's a couple different ways of looking at that, but if you're going to treat it like a business, you want to treat it like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, you're going to get paid like a hobby. I've done it both ways. I've been the live-in fix and flipper. I've been the just completely let somebody else worry about it and do it that way. I'll tell you what, the let somebody else do all the work and worry about it that way is the best way. Now, it doesn't mean that you wipe your hands completely clean. You still need to actively manage, but you become a manager of managers and managers of contractors.
Right.
That's really what you become. But there's a lot of steps to that, because some folks, if you're hard-headed like Ray and you need to go and, I can do all this work myself and I could save myself $1,000. But by saving myself $1,000, it extended the project timeline by 2 months, and it becomes stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. And when I say that, it's your time is valuable and how you use your time is important. And so when you start to understand how to leverage other folks' time, that becomes your way of increasing how much you make.
It seems quite simple that you say that. Say that again about time. Your time is important, right?
Time is extremely important, and how you spend your time is important. And what I have found is many times is I don't put the proper value to my time. And so I
not
sell
just
my
you,
time.
but our listeners.
Yeah,
as
everybody
well.
does.
People trade time for money all the time.
We do, and but it's different in the world of business, and you may not get paid directly for your efforts, but you're investing your time for that greater return in the future. For example, knowledge. Invest a lot of time and money into knowledge to hopefully get a greater return in the future. So after that, we want to elevate ourselves to the buy and hold, getting rental properties, short-term rentals, where you start to become a landlord. Now the risk is a little bit higher because you got a lot more financial risk involved, but your efforts, how much effort does it take if you put a property manager in place and their job is to collect the rents and make sure that tenants stay in there and pay on time? And
well, I think the effort for me is not tripping over the dog on my way to the mailbox to pick up the check.
Yes, that's very true. Yes. And it's one of those things that, but if something goes wrong in that property, are you not financially liable?
Well, you and I have been educated the right way, so I don't worry about those things. But if somebody, a lot of people, they go and buy a rental property and then they're worrying about their tenants and the toilet leaking at 2 a.m. in the morning, or termites or taxes, right? They're worrying about all those things.
Definitely. They really are. And the last level is the money lending. This is ultimately where everybody wants to be. And if you're starting out like I was starting out a couple of years ago, these are the folks that can help you accelerate your growth. So what I did when I was wholesaling, I knew I could do a fix and flip because I had ran the marathon mentally in my head, but I didn't have the money. Had to find the investors who are at the money lending level, who take a substantial amount of risk because it's all of their capital, but they want their dollars to just go out, go to work, and come home with friends. That's really what they want their money to do. Go out, work for them so they can go hiking, camping, fishing, play golf, cruising, traveling, or maybe just sit around and watch the money roll in. There's a lot of different reasons why folks take a more passive stance, but that's an opportunity for you to be able to fund your business, fund your real estate career. Now, I did not learn all this overnight, and I had tried for many years to learn from other folks that were already doing it. I'd been plugging into local real estate investor groups, like real estate investor associations, things like that. But what I found was when I was in more of this association type situation, everybody was already busy working their businesses, and they said, hey, Ray, if you find a business or you find a deal, bring it to me, I'll buy it. But I wanted somebody that could show me the step-by-step process. I wanted somebody who was successful and could show me the step-by-step process. But I had no way of finding those folks until we came across an education that we've been utilizing to advance our business in the world of real estate investing. And one of these gentlemen that taught a class, which I'm going to tell you a little bit about today, his name was Chris Albin. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. He has this established real estate portfolio of his own. Now, Chris is an owner of over 100 investment properties, and he manages many, many more of those. Now, his background, he basically was a high school English teacher and a wrestling coach. And also, you know, he served as a United States Marine, and he's in the Marine Corps Reserve. It's also given him, because he had this strong foundation in how to be a teacher in education, it really comes through when he teaches a course on how to invest in real estate. He holds his bachelor's and he holds a teacher's certificate from Eastern Illinois University. He has purchased over 200 properties on a teacher's salary and used multiple creative strategies in doing so. Now, this was a person that I came across and I said, okay, that's somebody I can learn from. If you can amass that type of real estate portfolio on a teacher's salary, because we all know that teachers make a whole lot of money, right?
Right.
But I took this class called Creative Acquisitions. And let me tell you a little bit about this class that I took. So the description of this class is you'll be inspired by these creative techniques and strategies for acquiring and gaining control of investment properties, basic investment skills, control terminology, and understanding potential seller motivations. This will provide a solid foundation for purchasing properties once they are found. Strategies include equity sharing, options, contract for deeds, seller financing, mortgages, and more. Using case studies, learners gain an understanding of step-by-step techniques for buying and controlling properties without having to qualify for bank financing. You will leave this class with the knowledge of which investments would be best funded through retirement accounts, cash accounts, stock accounts, life insurance plans, margin accounts, and others. He'll also train investors the best way to utilize financial and social resources, as well as time, imagination, networking, and non-traditional assets to successfully acquire investment properties.
Did you know I've actually met him?
Oh, man.
A couple of times, actually. Seen him train live. And one of the times he was introduced and brought up to stage, it was like, here's the man who owns half the city of Danville, Illinois.
Man, see, that's phenomenal. I've learned a lot from this guy, but I still haven't met him personally because with technology and the way that we're coming to you right now, we're in Arizona and you may be in Chicago, you may be in New York, you may be in Texas, you may be in California, you could be anywhere, but we have this connection now through the internet. And so walls don't matter anymore, and you might as well go and find the best of the best to teach you and help you with your business. Now, let me show you a little breakdown of what this class is. So there's like a pre-assessment, seeing where you're at. There's an introduction.
There's a
class
test?
outline.
You have to take a test?
Yes, there's a test. There's a pre-test and a post-test. And guess what the passing grade is?
75.
100. I want to see that you get 100 on these tests. Now, there is no certification or you're not going to get a degree, but you're going to get the knowledge on how to be successful at real estate investing. So there's the class outline, real life examples and case studies. You know, in these masterminds, we're going to be going through real life case studies of real life properties that's going to be interactive for everybody that's participating. Finding the right tool for the challenge. And then, I mean, it continues on. There's student challenge case studies. There's equity sharing strategies, the equity sharing agreement process, equity sharing class illustration, questions and answers. And as you see these on your screen, you see that there's more case studies, the master lease strategy, the option strategies, which we will be going into more depth next week. the option illustration. How does all this work? And what's really cool is the class is interactive, so you can kind of see. He uses a lot of, signage and people from the class, the live class recordings, and how does this contract move to this, and how does the deed move to here?
See, I've seen you do some of these things. I've seen you negotiate a master lease before, right? I've seen, and it's like, it's neat watching you pull this stuff up, but knowing you as I know you, seeing you put this stuff into practice is really cool.
It really becomes your tool belt. So if you're a handyman and you only have a screwdriver that's a Phillips head, you can't be that effective. But if you got a flat head, maybe you got a power drill and you got a hammer, you got a tape measure, you got a stud finder. Beep, beep, beep. Yep, that's right. But you have these things, the more effective you are in your business, then you upgrade to larger, bigger power tools. And that's education. The bigger the powerful education that you have, you can literally build, grow, and move past any other newbie investor because you have the skill set. So there are literally, there's 36 segments in this course. 36 segments over 7 hours in just this one class alone on 7 different ways of acquiring properties without using your own money or credit. It's pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, and Chris Albin is I mean, the fact that he's a teacher, I mean, he lays it all out. I mean, your course materials, your workbook, and everything that you do going through the class makes even somebody like me who doesn't understand real estate really get it.
Absolutely. Now, I do need to let you guys know because I have a relationship with that education company, and all it is that I'm not an employee of them, but I've used them with success, and I make referrals over to them. We make referrals all day long. We have a broker that we work with, we have realtors that we work with, and we make referrals. Business is all about referring to other businesses, and that's kind of what we do. We've used this with success, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Now, we always talk about this as well because we're not going to be practicing any licensing right now on these webinars. We have financial advisors on our team, we have loan officers, we have licensed professionals, but that's more specifically on a one-on-one situation. Now, I always recommend that you get an attorney, accountant, financial advisor, broker, and other licensed individuals because I'm not going to be able to provide that for you right now through this webinar. Now, even if I have a license, I'm not even acting in that capacity. So also, as we move forward, we got to talk about the cost of ignorance because if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. I mean, I have literally failed some pretty big ways, and if I just took a class, it could have saved me a lot of time, money. So let's talk about what the essentials actually is. This is the foundation, and this is actually how myself, Joseph, and CJ actually got connected because we were all in this training. And I know a lot of you folks that are watching this right now, you're already in this education. And so what I'm telling you is since you've already gotten started with us, we're now going to be doing this weekly masterminding and where you can plug in on a weekly basis, multiple opportunities a week for you to get plugged in. Now, what is in the essentials? There's real estate foundations, really the basic building blocks of investing. Self-directed IRAs from Matt Sorensen. If you look him up, he's one of the greatest well-known retirement account specialists in the country.
Well, in the previous class that you were pointing, I do agree with you on that. But my wife and I, we took that class together and we learned how to create our power team.
Yes, the power team, because that is a powerful aspect because you can't do it alone.
Right.
You need support. You need to be able to go along with other folks who are like-minded and have the skill set. Now, the other thing too that I learned is not all professionals are created equally.
That's right. I mean, that's why my wife and I took it together because now she knows how to interview every professional that she meets.
It's really good because my attorney isn't even local. My CPA isn't local. My accountant is local, but my realtor is local. But it's in Matt Sorensen. He's only about 2 hours away. So
your insurance guy isn't local.
My insurance guy isn't local either.
But Matt though.
Matt is phenomenal. He teaches a class called Self-Directed IRA. Now we just went down creative acquisitions. His is the same way. There's workbooks. This is super in-depth knowledge on how to use other folks' retirement plans to succeed. Chris Albin, he also teaches a class called Real Estate Red Flags. We just showed you how he taught a class on creative acquisitions. Now, going through those hundreds of properties, he now shares all the pitfalls that he went through and how to avoid those.
That is a very math-heavy class.
It is.
So, I mean, and it's important because your profit or your money is in the math. So a lot of people don't like math, but he helps you learn to love math.
It really does. Very similar to the next class. This, when I first heard it, I said, wow, that's a snoozer.
Tax and legal.
Tax and legal day 1 and day 2.
No, 2 days of tax.
2 days of tax and legal strategies. But I'll tell you what, this guy was Mark Kohler. I mean, you've probably seen him on YouTube. You've seen him on CNBC. You've seen him all over the place because not only is he Matt Sorensen's partner and owns one of the largest law firms, and he also owns a large accounting firm, but they specialize in retirement plans. They specialize in small business. And the guy's a straight up stand-up comedian. This guy is so funny. And he has literally made one of the hardest subjects to teach into one of my favorite classes ever because it's interactive.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Because it's so funny. Do you think when we go through this mastermind in the future weeks, do you think you could at least share some of his stuff with the folks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Next week, we'll give a little snippet and you get to take it for a little trial run. And so make sure you get subscribed. Make sure you get the link. It'll be in the description.
Will it be the Velocity channel subscribe, or are you talking about subscribe to the Wise Guys and Ties channel?
Well, you should be
Or
subscribed to both.
Okay.
You should be subscribed to the Velocity channel, and you should also be subscribed to the Wise Guys and Ties channel. Now, in a little bit, we're going to show you the text-in number to get the private Zoom link information. But you can always reach us at going to the wiseguysandties.com website. And next there we go. We went through it in depth, creative acquisitions. We got another amazing class by Chris called Deal of the Decade.
I like creative acquisitions that you're going to be covering over the next few weeks because that was how I was able to move. Like you showed the moving from wholesaler to fix and flipper, learning how to acquire these properties without any of my own money or credit was phenomenal. I mean, that was literally what gave me the confidence that I could move forward was that class.
Absolutely.
Deal of the decade, man.
It's phenomenal. I mean, there's so many properties out there that we don't even realize are out there. This goes into probate, you know, how to look through the legal system. Evictions. I mean, just think about that. If you're a landlord and maybe you're going through your 5th eviction, you might have some motivation to sell. There's a lot of really good nuggets in there as well. And we have, well, actually, this actually is getting changed right now to negotiation. So a phenomenal negotiation class.
Oh, I love that negotiation. You know what's really great about the negotiations class is I find that not only does it work with real estate, but it works within my family too, with my kids.
Oh, all walks of life. I've used the negotiation to sell my wife on, you know, why she should stay with, no. That was a long time ago, but no, negotiation is everything. If you're a parent, you negotiate with your kids all the time. And I'll tell you what, some kids are the best salesmen ever. They just don't take no for an answer. They just keep pushing and pushing. But, you know, if you have anything you ever need to do in life, negotiations is powerful because you're always selling somebody on your ideas, your thoughts, or your beliefs. Credit management from Eric Counts teaches you how to improve your credit worthiness, teaches all the ins and outs of credit. And then we have velocity banking. This is one of the things that you have been experiencing on our YouTube channels. You've been experiencing this before. We regularly go through, you know, a brief overview of velocity banking, but to really dive in deep and to really go hard, you know, if you wanted a workbook, if you wanted a course structure, I mean, this is a long course that's going to walk you step by steps, maybe all those little ins and outs and that unique aspect of your situation.
This is where CJ Wallace learned it. This is where, you know, you have credit banking that's out there. There's mortgage sweep strategies, cash flow banking.
It goes by many names.
Yes.
But yes. And so that's, one of those other things. You can always get plugged into us during our credit banking masterminds that take place on Tuesday nights, because that goes through a very similar concept of using credit for banking.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have an overview of all of these courses. Now,
this is really what you're showing people.
This is a little package.
And this is what you're going to be going through for the rest of the year?
Pretty much, yeah. So what we're doing right now is we are looking to get some of you folks on board who want to dive deeper, who want to go down this journey, who want to pursue that and work closely with us to mastermind every single week on business, finance, and real estate, and going through these classes step by step together. Now, if that's something that's interesting to you, I want you to stay tuned, because this, we'll be following up with you, and you can figure out how to get plugged in and make sure that you're able to achieve what you're put on this earth to achieve. So this little package here, this essentials course, this has over 60 hours of education. And when you get this program, it's around for as long as the company. Like I said, this doesn't come from the Wise Guys and Ties, it comes from Renatus, but we have a relationship with Renatus that, they've done some amazing things for me in my life. Mm-hmm. And we want to share that with you guys. And so what is that? Weekly group coaching. Now there's also, Renatus also has weekly group coaching, some from one of their really phenomenal instructors who gets on every single week, Tuesday nights. And then there's also the mastermind session that we will be having every Thursday night. And what is the cost to this? Because I'm sure you're wondering, like, okay, now that's a whole lot of value. How much does it cost? Well, it's only $2,497. And there's 100% financing available. You're already approved. So money's not the issue. The question is, do you want to pursue your dreams?
There's a number of people on this YouTube channel that already have. Mm-hmm. There's actually a number of people in this mastermind right now who actually have purchased this education. So I mean, this mastermind that we're going to go through is been such a huge blessing and benefit already to so many people.
Ooh, it has for sure. All right, so what we will cover in the follow-up is additional ways to find money, how to start, manage, and grow a successful business, how to generate income while building your real estate business, and demonstrate the training. We're going to demonstrate some of that training tonight. We're going to go through a case study on some properties we have. We're going to show you how we evaluate deals tonight. We're going to talk about that. But I want you guys to understand that if you want to join the follow-up that's going to be taking place this Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, text REI to 602-497-2257. That's REI to 602-497-2257, so you can get the private Zoom link where we will go into more depth on this. And we'll talk about what this looks like moving forward and how you can start to pursue your dreams.
So REI stands for Real Estate Investor.
Real estate investor, real estate investing. Perfect. Absolutely. REI. It's a beautiful way to go. Now, before we go there, before we end, this is not the end, folks. I want to actually switch over a little bit here, because now I want to get into really how are we actually going to be masterminding on some of this stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to come up here for a little bit. And let's see, we got a couple of questions here. All right. No, the masterminds will be on Thursday.
Read the question.
Oh, sorry. So we had a couple of questions here. Newly joined, so people that have just joined in education, absolutely, they can join into these masterminds. And masterminds are going to take place on Thursday evenings. Mm-hmm. Thursday evenings are when the masterminds are going to be taking place. Right now, it looks like they're going to be taking place at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Mm-hmm. Yep. And all right, great questions, everybody. And so as we start to, do you want to share yours or do you want to share mine?
What do you want me to do right now?
Let's go into what we're going to do is we're going to show you our investor operating software and how we analyze our real estate deals. And so this is what's going to be powerful in these masterminds is we're going to also have case studies where maybe depending on how much time we have, we may be able to hit 1, 2, or 3 properties that we can evaluate. In the system that we use, we can evaluate properties all over the country. And that's what's really powerful. So as Joseph gets logged in there right now, I'm going to show you guys. Oh, you're already in there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer over the controls to Joseph. That way he can start to show you guys what it is we are working with. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's just hand you the controls. All right.
All right.
I'm going to put you on hold. No, I don't want to. Yeah, why don't we just do that? That looks good.
Okay, and then I share my screen.
Yep.
All right. And then we share.
Yep.
Beautiful.
And then what I'm going to have you do.
And so everybody can see what I'm doing, right?
Yes, we can see what you are doing.
Okay, cool. So this is the real estate investing software that we use to analyze deals. I mean, it's not just deals. We run our marketing. This is how we find properties. This is how we market current properties that we have. This is how we find new investors. There's so much that's into this property. I mean, I don't know. We could probably spend a whole mastermind just on this.
Yeah, we definitely could.
But I'm just going to show you just a couple of things. If you can see my screen here, these are just some recent properties here in Tucson that we've looked at. When I say we, I mean Ray, as he's the property guy. So we go in and we look at the property, and immediately it's pulling up all of the information that's on the property. Public information, we can scroll down and learn more about the current market value, the automated value metric. We can see the transactional history, who used to own this property and how much it was purchased and sold for, and the last time it changed hands. We can see all of that. But if we're evaluating a property, a lot of times we want to know, well, what is this property worth? What is the current value of the property? Well, you could many times go ahead and hire a realtor, a broker, to give you a broker price opinion or comp your property. But right here, what we're looking at, oops, I did a full screen thing. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted to do was zoom in. So we're looking at where this property is. We're finding it right there. Okay, so as we're going to try to do a comparative market analysis on this property, we want to start, and these are toggles that you can control. These are the same toggles that you would find if you were trying to use the MLS system, which is the multi-listing services. So that's what realtors use to help find what the value of the property is in the current market. So maybe we want to search, I don't know, within a couple of miles. We want to look at maybe active and sold. Maybe we just want to look at sold right now, and we're looking at other, we want to find properties that are close in range to our property, right? So, we're looking, putting in bedrooms and bath, right? We're looking, and so we can fill all of this in, but let's see what our search pulls up right now. All right, and then I have to, I think, scroll back up to the top. And so maybe we picked a property here where here I am on live YouTube. I'm not finding anything. We need single family homes. We want all of this to match the property that we're looking at. So this is actually a one, I'm sorry, I think it's a 2-1. So I should be going from actually 1 to 2. And I should be going from 1 to 2. There we go. And we might have to expand our search. Maybe we'll go out 3 miles, and maybe we'll look back over the last 270 days. Let's see what the search pulls up now.
That's one of those things that as everything has kind of slowed down and the markets have been so hot for so long, there's literally little patches in Tucson, in your city, your state, that houses don't go up very often. And there's a lot of these that go on that never hit the MLS.
This is what I get for not checking ahead of time on property.
So this brings into another question. What do you do when you run into this situation? If you don't have enough data on this, well, that's one of those things that we're going to cover next week, actually, and we do our case study. We'll show you some of our tips and tricks on how you can evaluate properties when you don't have the data in your multiple listing service. Because as real estate investors, I want to get properties that are not on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
I want these deals that have been, they have open hold policies or hold open policies and titles, so they haven't even fully recorded yet. How do you still evaluate something in that situation? There's a lot of little tips and tricks. And so things like that, I can't give away the whole farm yet, but on these private masterminds that we start to hold, because we're going to do some public on YouTube, but to really partake in the ins and outs and all the little tips and tricks, it's going to actually be private webinars only for the students. And so that's one other powerful aspect. We're going to bring a lot of good stuff for you guys here live in public onto YouTube, but if you're going to want to dive deeper, you're going to have to get into those Zoom calls. And like I said, you're going to have to join us on the follow-up.
Yeah, I think what I'm currently experiencing is just some internet lag because everybody is everybody must be watching us live on YouTube.
Well, let me see if it's any faster over on my side, which it may not be.
But anyway, so if I could, okay, here it is. It's coming in. No, it's coming in.
All right. So here's another property we've been looking at.
All right.
Go into the deal analyzer.
Well, I'm sorry. I was actually going to click on the comp.
And it's probably because we're live streaming too. So it's eating up a lot of bandwidth.
Oh, that's right. Next time I'll just bring my own internet provider with me, separate from yours.
You would think this was... Aren't we supposed to have like a dedicated speed here at this office?
Yeah. What are we paying for? We're getting gypped. All right. Here we are.
Excellent. Okay, so when you first pull it up, we got a lot of information. We got the relationship. We got the owners of this property. Go into the repair estimator. Let's take a look at that. So what's really great is it starts to give you quite a bit of information.
It's
if it ever works.
Yes. I love technology when it works. Here we go.
Hey, beautiful.
Okay.
It's all right. Adapt, overcome.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome. You're right. Okay. So you know what I think the issue is? I don't think we're connecting right now to the MLS. This normally connects to the MLS. I can go ahead and try and put some more information in here. But you want to know something? For future webinars, we're getting started off on this first one. And if anybody knows how our credit banking webinars first went, nothing worked the first time. So
we're building the plane. So this idea came up actually on Tuesday during the credit banking mastermind. And we're like, hey, let's start a real estate mastermind. Mm-hmm. And everybody was saying, hey, when are you guys going to start that? And we're like, well,
there's no time.
Might as well start it now. And so we started this idea about 5 o'clock tonight for your benefit. But that is, that's the beauty of it. One thing I've learned if you don't act on it now, it'll never get done. And it's not going to be perfect. When we start things, you got to learn how to walk.
See, this was all working before we started.
Yeah.
So we're actually not connecting to the MLS
I'm
right
totally going to blame this on Joseph, because I put Joseph in charge of this.
But you saw my computer earlier. It was working. Sorry, folks. We will have this. We'll also have backup to screenshots, just in case for some reason the internet isn't cooperating. But let's just basically, as you look here, we're able to pull comps. And what happens is you zoom into the city and you see all the other houses, and you're able to look at each individual one and evaluate them and compare them to your house, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms. You're able to look at neighborhoods and everything. Not only does this software pull all the data from the MLS, but we're able to insert our own data. If we want to pull in information from Zillow or Trolio or Redfin, I mean, all of these other different sites out there that people use to pull in data, we can do that. We also have we use a lot of different tools, and we can channel them all here into Renatus iOS and really make a robust comparable analysis. The repair estimator, the rehab planner, the deal analyzer, these are the things I wanted to showcase tonight that aren't working. But what we're able to do is, if you're there at the property and you're able to walk it, and you notice that some windows are broken or there's a leak in the ceiling, right? You can go ahead, and the repair estimator takes you through every room and everything from top to bottom in the room, and you're able to itemize out what that costs, because it links locally based off of the zip code to what the average repair, not just the material cost, but what the average labor cost is. Also, there's a lot of training videos that go just into the iOS and how to use it, which I can't demonstrate that either right now. But the rehab planner, so once you've determined all of the work that is necessary that needs to be done, now you can, through the software, go out and get a bid on all of the individual pricings for all of the materials. It looks at the SKU, which is a stock keeping unit number at, say, Home Depot. It's linked into Home Depot. So you pull up everything, you can itemize out what everything costs. In fact, you can get a whole list put together of all the materials and what Home Depot charges, right? Then what you can do is, once you have that's Home Depot's bid, you can then take that to Lowe's or to another home improvement store and say, hey, can you beat this? Mm-hmm. Right? Which, you do all the time.
Absolutely. I really do. Yes.
So, but this is really great, so that we can then, if you need to put a new refrigerator, everything that's in Home Depot's store, you then plan out your rehab and price it out. And then the deal analyzer at the end here lets you look at what the after repair value of the property is. And that's going to really be an analysis of the comparables. What are other like houses going to sell in a basically the best condition possible? You're going to get a range, right? The top of the market, the bottom. Top of the market is if your house is totally fixed up, like brand new, everything to the top of that neighborhood, or the top of that scale. And so you look at that price, and then let's say maybe the top of everything in the neighborhood is granite countertops and has brass fixtures. Everything it's just it's got all hardwood or tile flooring, right? So you're gonna look at that and you're like, well, I don't know if I want to do all that with the house. So then, based off of the range, then you can kind of zero in on where your house is probably going to sell. And then you're comparing this to houses that have already sold in your area, and with the deal analyzer. And what's great is it's going to show you your rate of return, your ROI, what percentage you're going to make on this deal if you choose to fix and flip. In fact, you've got a couple of options with the deal analyzer. Do you want to fix and flip it? Do you want to hold on to it and turn it into a rental? And so you can look at the cash flow on it I mean, the deal analyzer looks at, well, how did you get the money? Is it hard money? Did you borrow the money? Are you investing your own money? Are you, so you look at the cost of money, you look at what the repair cost is, right? You look at all of the intangibles of holding on to it, what are called your holding costs, right? And once you have all of these costs put all together, then the deal analyzer, it's great because all of these print out into wonderful, beautiful looking sheets that if you were, say, trying to find an investor to invest in your deal, right, they're able to go ahead and look at the information that you've generated and then
You're clicking out because it just started working on mine. So I don't know if they're running an update. Go to like the rehab. Go to the rehab.
Oh, the rehab?
Oh, yeah. Never mind. There's. That's okay. Go to the rehab.
Hey, you know, don't touch my screen, man.
Is that touchscreen?
Yes.
Look at you, fancy. Man, I don't have a touch screen. I mean, I can touch it, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, what are you trying to have me look at?
Oh, it's loading. Yeah, you're loading. You're good. Keep talking. You're good.
Folks, this software does more than just analyze your properties. It also generates contracts, right? Have you ever wondered, well, what's the right contracts? Built into the software is a purchase contract. If you're doing one of the amazing strategies like we learned in Chris Alden's class, like a subject to, it'll also put in the addendums that are necessary for the subject to. If you're wholesaling the property and you need additional documentation, all of that it prints all of that for you. If you're just trying to create an investor packet on what would I do to how much money do I need to borrow to get this deal done and what rate of return can I offer you on the deal, you can print that up. So here's the repair estimator, right? So we'll just say create. And then we wonder what's going to happen as it circles around and it circles around. It's the circle of life, really. Should I break out into from the movie Lion King, the circle of life?
Well, so what I like about the rehab planner is
Look at
it
that.
breaks it down nicely. For example, if you're walking around and you're evaluating a property, it's optimized to use on your cell phone. And you can really kind of go through the checklist of looking at the exterior. Okay, do you need a roof? Do you need the gutters? You know, what type of finish on the exterior, the masonry, the painting, the windows. And so let's say that, you know, as you hit one of these toggles, you're going, and as you start to get more adjusted to what things cost and you start to build relationships, you're going to find that you're able to save money in certain areas. So for the kitchen, what's really nice is you can break it down by the actual item, or you could do more of a generic kitchen build out, you know, like a low, medium, or high grade kitchen. So interior kitchen by item, you know, then you can list out cabinets, how many of those, and the prices there, the countertop, how many square footage and the units. So if you have a countertop and you have, you know, 300 square feet of counter space, then the $65 price there, you're going to see that that's pretty much for granite, which tends to be one of the most typically, probably the most common countertop now. And so
That's a big kitchen, by the way.
it is now. So, but also granites can be expensive. 300. But what I'm thinking is that's kitchen, that's bathrooms, and if you want to put it all through. Now I know, like my granite guy could probably get that done for $5,000.
Well, because this is showing you purchasing it, like say from an end user,
Yeah,
like Home Depot.
if you're going to Home Depot,
but if you're working through a wholesaler,
right,
of the actual.
If you have a relationship with a local, now that was something that the local real estate investor groups were good for, connections. I know that our local real estate group here, we have a lot of local connections. And what's really cool is the folks that have been plugging into those classes and plugging into Renas, it's nationwide. And so there's a pretty good chance that there's some other Renata student in your local area that could connect you with some local discounts and deals. Now, of course, that's not guaranteed because this is just, you know, just kind of the beginning of all this. But that's where it really works, is once you start to network with the other professionals, the handymen. Once you find, say, a landscaper or handyman, they know a roofer, they know they have a brother that does granite on the side. They have connections. And so as you start to network, you can develop these connections.
So I like the repair cost that's coming up here, $3,832 for this 1,900 square foot home, because what's being reflected here, I mean, the actual paint might come out to $1,000 here or less.
That's actually pretty spot on.
And then the rest of this is the labor that's going to go into the actual painting.
But what works really well is if you're doing this on your phone and literally you just booked an appointment with a homeowner, you only have so much time to evaluate. Yes, later on you can get contractors in there. It's kind of, what can you do quickly to evaluate your property? Once you have professionals come through and you have more time to look at it, maybe it's after you've gotten it under contract, there's that inspection period. That's when you can dive in deeper. But on your first go, I mean, maybe you have 20, 30 minutes to go through this property, and maybe you're still starting out and you don't really know what all these things cost. You're like, okay, I know it's going to need paint. I know it's going to need paint inside and outside. The roof looks rough. There's a good chance it might need a roof. It doesn't have an AC, so there's a good chance I'm going to want AC. And so you can start to do this and build out what the cost is. And so you're not just completely throwing out, oh, it's going to be $20,000. Well, what is that $20,000 actually? Because a new roof, depending on who you go to, for the same house, a new roof from one company could be $15,000 or it could be $7,000. It just depends. I guarantee you the roofing company, here's a little tip of the can't even speak. A little tip for you. The roofing companies that have the nicest trucks and have the wraps and are really flashy and they're all driving, brand new F350s lifted with 26-inch rims, they're probably going to be a lot more expensive than, the other guy down the street who is using his 15-year-old truck and he's got a couple of buddies who've been doing it for 20 years. They are quick, they're effective, and let somebody else spend the money on that. You're an investor. You got to start thinking like an investor. But that is one of those things, it all goes down to plumbing, HVAC, termites, everything that you absolutely need. And as I almost called you Carlos.
But here's what you're saying. Look, it keeps a running total of what you're doing, especially if you're doing this on the phone. Also keep in mind that what you're seeing are Tucson prices, right?
Right.
If we were doing this for properties in California or New York,
are you able to zoom in a little bit? Maybe. There you go. There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so with that being said, so with your mastermind, what's going to happen week in and week out on those who are in the actual students who are using this, they're going to be able to bring their deals. They're going to be able, and you're going to be able to run comparative market analysis. You're going to be able to do a repair estimation on there and a deal analyzer, and then create PDFs and then give it to the folks who are in that mastermind.
There's going to be so much cool stuff. It's going to be amazing. It really will be. And it'll be a mastermind where we all can kind of pitch in, and because there'll be a lot of folks from different areas of the country that maybe, you're going to know the most hands-on about, this street, if you go north, that street is bad. Or this street going south, that street is bad. And the hope is that we get enough folks from all over the country with different skill sets that in our own little mastermind, we can connect and start to build nationally. That'd be pretty phenomenal.
And one of the things that will obviously be working and up and running will be this software.
Yeah, it's doing good right now. It's lagging a little bit. The reason, probably is because all the usage right now, but
that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share and pass everything back over to you.
All right, folks. Well, as far as for tonight, this was just the first trial run. I want you guys to make sure that, let me share this for you. I'm going to share my screen once again. I want you to make sure that.
Do I have control?
Oh, yeah. Can you share my screen for me?
I don't know how to share your screen. You want me to? I have to make you the host.
All right.
There you go. Hold on. There you go. Okay. I just sent the controls over to you.
Hey, look at that.
Now
The host.
Now you can share your screen again.
Please hold. We appreciate your patience. All right. Screen number 2. All right. So back to this. Now, we're using this for tonight, the texting REI to 602-497-2257. But also, this is also where we're going to give updates on what's taking place for this entire concept. Like we said, this is brand new. We are heading down the runway and trying to build the wings as we're taking off. We don't know what this is fully going to look like yet. But what it is going to look like is a place that if you've been looking for an opportunity, you've been looking for a way to get into real estate investing. Now, right now, we don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of uncertainty in the financial markets. There's uncertainty in the real estate markets, but I'll tell you what is certain. Change. Change is what's coming, and together we can adapt and overcome. And working together and developing your knowledge now for when there is that next opportunity. There's always opportunity, but in the next 1 to 2 years, there's most likely going to be a huge opportunity for the real estate investing professionals
I got 3 questions
to create generational wealth. This is
Perfect.
coming up fast. And what we're looking to do is help get a lot of folks prepared for that next situation. All right, so we got
Perfect.
a couple of questions.
Yes. First question we have from Brian. How about newly joined education
Oh yeah, we
holders?
already went over this. Yeah.
You did? You already went over that?
Yeah, they can join the mastermind, right?
Perfect. And then what about Saturdays? What's the difference between what's happening on Thursdays and what's happening on Saturdays?
Saturdays is where you can come get all your questions answered about the education, about what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis, more about what Renatus is. And that's a great way for you to come ask your questions, say, hey, I want to do it, but I have no money in my pocket. How am I going to make that happen? All of those types of questions. And then also at any time, if you can't make Saturday, you can always reach us at 888-524-9273. I'll go ahead and throw our contact information up here on the screen again. That way, if anybody wants to reach out to us directly, you can always reach out to us at wiseguysandties.com and schedule an appointment. You can talk with myself or Joseph and really dive in a little bit deeper into this.
I got a real estate question for you.
Yeah, what's the real estate question?
This is from Nasty Fran.
Hey, it's Nasty. Oh, you know what, Nasty? You did send us an email.
Okay, do you want the question?
Yeah.
All right, so the question is, should I pay off one multifamily unit first before buying another? And a little bit more, because we had a little back and forth here. She has $60,000 of equity, and she can then do some renovations and put another $250,000 equity in or create that. She has an awesome cap rate of 10% right now. So I guess the question breaks down as you look at this property. Should she pay it off first before moving on to the next one, or can she pay it off and buy another one at the same time? That's the question.
So this is a fourplex?
I didn't hear anything about fourplex. I heard multifamily.
Multifamily.
So duplex, triplex, I mean, could be eightplex.
So we got multifamily property that it's, how much is the value of it?
Don't have that information.
We don't have that information.
No.
Okay. So
The basic strategy, the basic general question is, as she's trying to pay down the debt that she owes on this multifamily unit, she also wants to buy another one. But
Okay.
should she wait until she pays off the first multifamily unit before purchasing another one? or can she do both at the same time?
I mean, you could do both at the same time. I really don't see any reason why you would need to wait. It really comes down to, first and foremost, being able to find another good deal.
Right. I mean, she might have another deal currently in mind, but as you know, deals come, every day.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're consistently looking for more deals, more projects, and in no way, shape, or form do I want to necessarily wait.
So what I've shared so far is really depends on the efficiency of the debt and how well the cash flow that's coming in is servicing that debt, how much equity is in the current property. Because if you're looking for a lender to lend, they might only lend up to 50% loan to value.
Right.
And so you got to be, careful about that. But also what's taken into account is the cap rate. How is it cash flowing, right? And so when we look at the money, I mentioned business credit. If she had the property in the business and was building business credit, she could use her business credit to help her collateralize the purchase of another property and leverage the equity that she has in her current property. So that's kind of where my thinking was. She did say here it was 4 units.
Okay. So we got a 4-unit multifamily. So yeah, we do have to look at the cash flow. We have to look at the loan to value. There was about 60,000 in equity. Is that
right? But apparently, after doing she can put some money into it. Her belief is that she could get $250,000 of equity in the property.
$250,000 equity, and then it goes into. I remember when we were talking that it's currently owned in your personal name. Now, there's different things as far as transferring property, as long as it's the mortgage. If the mortgage is in your name and it's transferring over to a business that you have the same ownership in, and it isn't actually changing a lot of ownership, then it won't trigger the due on sale clause. But of course, I want you to make sure that you've read your documents to make sure that that still pertains to your situation. But in most cases, that is, if Joseph owns a house in his personal name, he's on the mortgage, he starts a business in his name, or that he's the owner of, he can transfer the property into that business. Now, this is a rental, so immediately you start running that rental revenue. You can, of course, use personal funds or personal credit, however you want to fund that rehab. Of course, we stay away from wanting to use personal credit to fund that. But it comes down to your ability to buy that next property. It comes down to how much cash you have on hand. These all are going into your risk tolerance. I think if you're rehabbing this property, that's what it sounds like. You're rehabbing this multifamily property. You would, unless you have capital somewhere else, or you raise capital for another property, or find a property where you could do something creatively, like have a seller carryback, you'd want to get that property up and running, get that rented out, especially if this is your first property. Trying not to take on too much at one time, but if this is new to you, you're focusing on getting that property done and getting that property rented out. Once that's completed, as long as you are able to service all the debt, then immediately, I'd start looking for the next project.
Well, you brought up a good point. I have no idea if this is in Nancy Fran's personal name or not, but if it is, then they immediately need to get that into a business. And I think a combination of a cash, a credit banking, velocity banking, business credit combination strategy would eliminate that debt while at the same time giving her the funds needed for the rehab. Right? Imagine putting the purchase, what you need, and put that on a credit card, and then the cash flow that's coming off of the rentals, making the minimum payments or more on the lines of credit. So pushing all that income through the lines of credit.
Yeah, and as far as getting it all paid off first, there's not necessarily that huge need if it's in your goal of building the business. But it's one of those things that it's hard to say. It comes down to what would I personally do. I might be a little bit more risky than somebody else where, if a deal comes up, I'm going to say yes, and I'm interested.
Right. Well, at 4 units, it's still technically in the single family housing category, but all we need to do is get one more unit or buy it. It's just talking multifamily. Let's say there's another fourplex. Now you've gone into the realm of commercial real estate investing, and we can get a commercial collateralized loan.
Yes, absolutely. And then that's the power. If it's in the business and then you have the cash flow, you have the collateral, and you have the credit, then maybe we start looking at some business lines of credit, and where we can restructure all these properties into a business or into a commercial line of credit.
See, now we're finally starting to talk about some stuff that I understand.
There's a lot of options, and that's what's so beautiful. Is the reason I really love real estate is there's no one right way. There's multiple ways. If something happens, and you can change directions. Hey, this strategy, I was flipping this house, and now it didn't go the right way. I got Nasty's got this fourplex that is moving into, she wants to rent it out. But what happens if something goes wrong? Well, maybe the rehab costs a lot more, and maybe we had to take on debt, and all of a sudden now it's not cash flowing the way it was. Well, by the time that rehab's done, and depending on where you live, we could turn it into a vacation rental. We could have more of a short-term period for some of those units, depending on where you live, and maybe double or even tripling what the monthly rate of return is. Now, it does require a little bit more time and setup and knowledge, but there's a lot of possibilities. What I like is, folks that are retiring and tired of, managing that fourplex. I'll take over the management aspect of that. We can implement one of those other strategies that we're going to be talking about next week.
And that's something you learned from Chris Albin.
Yeah, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about next week. These creative ways of purchasing properties and adding to your portfolio. Like both the houses that Joseph and I have, they're in our businesses' names, and we're not even personally on the mortgages. Did you realize that?
I know.
Then you should buy a new house. you should move. The house you're moving into looks like it could eat your old house. But the great thing is you don't have to qualify for the bank. It's in the business's name.
Because we use the subject to strategy.
Right. And just walk right in. And it's actually cheaper than a house half of its size.
And another reason why I really like the subject to strategies, because the person we bought it from, who I didn't really know, but is a former military veteran. And he had fortunately had gone through some rough patch in his marriage, and they got a divorce. And so that, is a terrible thing, but it was leading to the fact where both him and his ex-wife were going to lose all their VA benefits because of all of this. And so we came in and we were able to take over the property subject to its current financing that's in place. And we were able to help them save. So we get a house and we take over the payments, and they don't lose their VA benefits. And unfortunately, they're going their separate ways, but there's the retirement benefits, there's housing benefits, there's a lot of things that veterans get that are at jeopardy when they fail to pay their obligations on a VA loan.
You bring up an extremely important part of all of this. What real estate investing really is you are a professional problem solver. We're dealing with people in tough situations, and if your moral compass isn't in the right direction, that's why we talk heavily about faith, family, on this, and that's a huge part of our business. Before we'll pray with homeowners, we'll do what's necessary to make them feel comfortable, because we're not there to take advantage of them. We're there to work with them. We sit on the same side of the table. This isn't us taking from them. It's, hey, here's a bunch of options for you. And if any of you have ever talked to us on the phone, or if you've done a consultation, you'll know that we're not in the business of just straight taking. We're in creating value. We're in creating partnerships. We're in creating relationships. that are built on a foundation, because if you want to become a successful real estate investor, if you want to make a change in this world, you're going to have to help folks. And helping people out of bad situations, even if it's just the financial burdens of their business or their personal life, helping people find happiness in the bad situations is what's going to create your success. So, I think we're pretty much out of time for today.
Yeah,
and I just encourage you guys that reach out to us, because we're going to keep coming to you each and every week. We're going to keep doing what we can to help you achieve your God-given purpose. So for myself, Ray Fleming, and Mr. Joseph Smith,
Good night.
Good night, and God bless.